Former prisoner and inmate.
You did it. What are you doing, Guns?
You bit the hell out of me.
Wanna see you with your hands up. Going straight to the sky, let me see you put your hands up. Cause we do till we die and we on another level.
I'm at New York City.
To the rest of your body, got a piece of the pie. Told you once, told you twice that we only got one life.
On the way to achieve success after prison, and he's going to share his story with us right now.
Diamond shine, best at night. You wear yours, I'll wear mine. Go dumb tonight.
What's up? So, the evolution of my life in one series. Not sure how far this will go, but I wanted to share. It's a little cold up here in my upstairs office. It's not heated up here because I heat my house with a wood stove, which is downstairs. So it's a little chilly. Can get a little chilly up here. I'll probably get warm as I go. But also, if you notice, there's a little red rash on my face. I have no idea what the hell that is. It happens to me occasionally. Ever since spring break, 1991, when I was on spring break, I got a little bit of sunburn. And ever since then, every couple months, I'll get like this breakout. And I just put cortisone cream on it for a couple of days and it goes away. I'm not sure what it is. I never went to a dermatologist. It just is what it is, and I get it. So if you notice that, I didn't get in a freaking boxing match. It is what it is. So, and again, with the hat, I'm just kind of chilly up here, so let's stay warm. So what is this episode about? Well, this is a good episode. I'm going to tell you about, not an episode, it's just, part of the story, the dimension of my life that led me down a path of self-destruction and eventually in prison. But I feel like this is a really good story, in my opinion. I know my story better than anyone. So as I tell these stories, I know this is a good one. I think so. So I hope you enjoy it and you listen. I left off where I had started selling weed. By the way, shout out to Art Thing Apparel. You guys check out our gear at artthinapparel.com. We got everything from tracksuits and hoodies to everything. You know what I'm saying? Hats. I sold the Philly hats. I sold 2 of the 3 Philly hats. I gave one guy 2 for the price of 1. I got 1 more left. I'll probably give it away to somebody in Philly. But we got every city. So any city you want, boom, you get yours made. Our new printer is freaking dope too. Like, she does really good work. It's awesome. It's embroidered, not a patch on. Make sure to check it out. And I'm still, make sure to check out my books. To Be a King, Volume 1 and 2. 5-star reviews. A lot of them. People love them. People are comparing it to Godfather. If you like a mafia story, you'll love this book. Here's what you do. I task you with this. Find somebody who's read the books, both of them. They had to read both of them. Because volume 1 is half the story. Just like, you have like a series like The Godfather. You really have to watch all of it to understand the whole story. It was 1 book, but it would have been too long to publish as 1 book. I had to charge $40, so I couldn't do it. So there was a perfect halfway point at like 530 pages. The other book's like 515 pages. So it worked out perfect. But the resolution will blow your mind. And that's the part in volume 2. But you won't be bored. I promise you this. You'll enjoy it. You'll love the story. You'll love the characters. And it's dope. So make sure to check that out. To Be a King on Amazon. And artthinapparel.com. It's dope. So let me get into this story about how when I started selling steroids and also took the next step into the drug game. I'm drinking Thrive tea, by the way, and an Arthing cup. No, Thrive is caffeine free, you know what I'm saying? And by the way, to any British people across the pond, I got creamer in here, and I think they think that's a faux pas, like a no-no. I put cream sugar in mine, so sorry about you guys. It's good tea, though. I like tea. I'm a tea drinker. What can I say? So, I'm going to get warm. So, I left off where I talked about how my dad wasn't buying food. And I can't take myself seriously in this hat. I'm just cold. My dad wasn't buying food. So, I ventured into the dope game, which was just selling weed. I did, as I sold weed in the neighborhood because I was kicked out of school. And, while all of my friends were in school every day, when I first started, I didn't even have a car yet, but I had a moped. And I drive around the neighborhood. People call me, say they want a bag. I jump in my moped and drive, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks, sometimes a mile or two, and I give them a bag, maybe hang out with them for a few minutes, smoke a joint, whatever. And some of them were like, man, can you get any Coke? I'm like, yeah, I can ask around. So I did, and I could get Coke. So I got a Coke plug, and I started buying a little bit of Coke. And then back then, ephedrins, or what were known as mini thins, which is ephedrine, you could buy bottles of them at the gas station, like 100 of them for like $5, and you just crush them up in the white powder, and you add it to your Coke. And it made it kind of harsh, but they also had the same effect as Coke. So it was like made them all wired. So guys, I go, man, the Coke's a little freaking tough on the nose, but it's good. Can I get some more? So I would buy, an 8-ball or quarter ounce, right? And I cut it with like an 8-ball. Quarter ounce, I put it on a quarter ounce, I cut an 8-ball of cut in it, so I can stretch it. So I'm making money from that. Also sheets of acid. When I got my hands on sheets of acid, I sell those. Also mescaline, they call them dots or micro dots. Not sure if you ever heard of those, but they're really funny. One day I have to tell you a couple of stories about the times I did dots. They were really fun, man. Like, if I was ever going to do like a drug like that again, that would be the one. It was super funny. One time I took a dot called the Purple Double Dome, and I became Australian. I had a perfect Australian accent the whole night. Basically couldn't get out of it. It was crazy. We were at this girl's house at a party. I stole her dad's flare gun out of his dresser, loaded it as a 12-gauge flare gun. I put a flare in there and shot it across this field behind the house, like a playground field, and it landed on the roof on the other side of the field and caught the garage on fire and burned it down. The freaking fire department came, and I was like, well, we're all sitting in the window watching. Also, her little brother kept saying, I'm going to tell. So I duct taped him. I just wrapped him in duct tape and stuck him in the closet. And the girl's like, yeah, where's my brother? He's like 9 years old. Where's my little brother? I haven't seen my little brother in a while. I'm like, I don't know. Finally, she found him freaking duct tape in the closet. I'm telling Mom. It was funny. I went in the refrigerator. I always get off on these side tangents, but they're funny. I remember going in the refrigerator to eat something while I was Australian. I thought I was tripping on these things. Make you laugh so hard, though. These microdots, you just constantly are cracking up. There was like 6 of us at this girl's house. It was her and her friend. It was me, Jay, Ricky, and this Jimmy, and this dude named Chad I didn't like. And so I remember going to the refrigerator. Jay had taken Jay was there too, my best friend Jay. He was taking all the goldfish out of the aquarium and like smashing them off the wall. And they're going, oh my God, like our pets. I'm like, what? And they had this little freaking dog, man. It was like it was a half Doberman, half poodle. Can you imagine? How the hell did that have sex? How did a Doberman and poodle have sex? But that's the breed it was. And it was annoying. It was always barking about it. So I got a super soaker and I kept squirting it. And eventually it hit another. That was kind of a dick. But it kept barking and trying to bite me. So I got to shoot it with a super soaker. But I remember going in the refrigerator and I was like eating on stuff. And the little kid, the brother, comes and he goes, I grabbed this a brand new hunk of cheese. It wasn't even open yet. And the kid says, you can't eat that. That's my dad's. I said, yeah. And I went, just bit through the plastic and everything, ripped the hunk out of it. And the kid's going, oh, I'm telling. I'm like, oh, fuck out of here, kid. Tell whoever you want. I don't give a frick. I'm tripping. But so back to me selling these. I wasn't ever like a big time acid or dot dealer or cocaine dealer or nothing like that. It was just a little side petty hustle. Weed was my main game. So what ended up happening was, that's how the stories always start. Always start with that. The thing that was happening was I was getting so much traffic at my house, because I jumped into selling weed so I could get something to eat. But by the time, within 6 months, I was clocking, and clocking, I'll be honest, I probably was making $1,500 a week. But in 1989, 1988, $1,500 a week was a lot of freaking money. At least it was to me. I was a kid from the lower middle class suburbs. And I didn't even know what to do with that much money. I ended up buying all my friends, coats, stereos, beepers, jewelry. I had so much jewelry, man. I used to go to the jewelry store about once a week, man. And there was this place called the New York Jewelry Exchange. No idea why they called it the New York Jewelry Exchange. It was in Detroit. It was just like, there's like 10 different jewelry stores in one place at Marshall's Mall. And I'd walk in and they'd all go, hey, Al, how you doing? They knew my name. But there was this one guy named John who always gave me the best deals. He was a Chaldean or Arab guy of some kind. And, hey, how you doing? And he'd sell me like bullshit, kind of cheap, ghetto fab rings, bracelets, what. I had it all. And all of it, I never spent more than like $800. You know what I'm saying? I used to see real dope dealers come in there, like freaking crack dealers from the hood, who pull up in freaking $50,000 lowriders and big freaking chains that big around, like huge chains, and they'd walk in and buy $4,000 or $5,000 worth of stuff like it was nothing. But I'd buy 200, 300, 400, 500. But after 6 months, I got a ring on every finger. I had a freaking big fat 3-finger ring that had my initials on it and diamonds. I actually flushed that down the toilet by accident. That's a crazy story. I never used condoms with my girlfriend ever, really. But one day I decided to use one. I was at my friend Jay's house, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna bang my girl. I'm gonna use a condom. So I took, and I was all high. That's the problem. I was all stoned, and I get super high, and I end up banging her. And when I'm done, I grabbed the condom wrapper and the condom, but I had taken my ring off to have sex because I didn't like the feel of it on my hands. And I set it down there next to the condom wrapper. And like a stupid, I grabbed it thinking I'm going to put the ring on and then flush the condom down the toilet. But I grabbed it all in one kind of whop and walked over to the toilet. It was all high, not thinking. I just go throw it in the toilet and flush. Boom. And then just as I freaking saw it going down the toilet, I'm like, oh, damn. And it was like a $500 ring, a bunch of little diamonds. I'm like, what the frick did I do? I was so pissed about that. Dummy. I had a big solid rope chain. It was about that freaking big around, diamond cut, and it had my initials, big plates. It just said Al. It said my name, Al, and like white gold and diamonds. That was pretty cool. And I had a big fat hollow rope chain, the big ones, like a rapper chain. And I had a bracelet that had dollar signs all the way around. Had a Gucci watch. And I'd say you can only buy so much stuff when you're a kid, you know what I'm saying? Bought a Mustang. My first car was an Escort GT. The first car that I bought was an Escort GT. I pimped it out. It was all black tinted rims, chrome along the rockers, 412s in it. I freaking thought I was a G. But anyways, the problem was didn't take long for me to kind of blow up in the weed game, right, in the neighborhood. While everybody's at school, I'm sitting home and people will call or come by for bags. That's not really a problem. My neighbors typically were at work and stuff. But keep in mind, this is a solid middle class suburb, right? So it's not like it's the ghetto. It's not really even lower class. It's solid middle. I mean, it depends what you define as middle. I'd say the average medium income would have been at the time probably $30,000. But, that's today's probably like 60,000, you know what I'm saying? 70,000. So it was inflation. I'm just saying, so you couldn't just slang dope and not get noticed. I could do it a little, but everybody in the neighborhood knew I was a thug. My one neighbor hated me. They had 3 sons, Jeff, Joel, and Jason. And I almost beat the older brother. I almost beat the older brother's ass. He thought he was tough. He got tough. I actually pulled a gun on the guy. He said, I'll kill you. So I said, you're going to kill me? I went in the house and grabbed an AK-47. Walked back in his front lawn and went, shh, what you going to do, man? Cops pulled up 5 minutes later, but I was back in the house with the gun. And the cops came and said, the neighbor said you pulled a gun on him. I was like, no, he said he was going to kill me. So I came out with a pellet gun to show him I got one too. He's like, where's the pellet gun? And I went inside and grabbed this freaking pellet gun. And he said, that was it? I said, yeah. He didn't have a warrant to go inside. He knew it was a neighbor feud. He was like, man, keep the gun in the house, dummy, and let's calm down. But I had an AK-47. It wasn't an AK-47, it was an SKS. But for all intents and purposes, it was the AK-47. If you don't know what guns are, but SKS is basically a Chinese version of a AK-47. It was my dad's. Where I was like, he was mad that I was in the driveway working on my sound system, right? I was making some adjustments, doing something. He's sitting in the door with his arm on the door looking at me. He's just looking. I'm like, what? So I'm in here trying to sleep. It's freaking 11 o'clock in the morning, man. I'm in here trying to sleep, man. He's like, I don't give a F. He said, man, you need to get your ass beat or something. I said, what? You gonna beat my ass? Come beat my ass. I'll beat your ass, mother. I'll stomp you out right on your front lawn, mother effer. And he goes, I'll kill you. I said, you can kill me, huh? Went in the house. Let's see that. So I was cut. So that neighbor didn't like me. And then, but everybody knew. The neighbor across the street definitely knew. They had like 5 kids and they all knew me. And their daughter Barb had a crush on me. It was funny. Every time I was out there like washing my car in the summertime, like they'd yell out the window, woo! It was funny. I could have tapped it, but you know what? Two things stopped me. She was a cute girl, great body, but I wasn't going to. Two things. He was my friend's sister. I knew the kid, and I liked him. And second of all, I had a girlfriend, so it's not like, dude, I can't have that type of drama. I can't have, because my girlfriend comes over and the chick that I freaking got with across the street comes over yelling, "Oh, why are you with your girl, not me?" No way. I was not like that. And plus, frankly, she was blonde. I don't like blondes, but frankly, it was because of my friend Chris, her brother. I was gonna try to get with my friend's little sister and stuff, but I couldn't. I'm just saying, she kept howling at me and all that. Anyways, all the neighbors, they knew me, and then the neighbor next to them didn't like me. The neighbor across the street, dead across the street from me, I didn't really know much about them, but everybody knew. So, because there's traffic coming and going. But I kept it under control. The cops would roll by every once in a while, but then it hit critical mass. And when it hit critical mass, it's probably about 6 months after I started selling weed. I'd already been kicked out of school. You know, I had started high school. I started selling weed after I got kicked out of 8th grade. Then I started high school and lasted there 9 weeks. And I think I told the story about how I bought this leather jacket and got kicked out of school because my friend Ricky had stolen it from school and sold it to me, saying it was his brother's. So, and I wouldn't rat him out. So I ended up expelled. So now I'm just in the street. So about 3-4 months after this, it got to the point where school got out at 2:55, right? By 3 o'clock, and I only lived like 5 blocks from the school. By 3 o'clock, there's 5, 6, 7, 8 cars pulling up, jumping out of their car, walking up to my door. Some of them are stupid enough to be counting money. They're like counting money on the way up to my door. And I'm just like, what the frick? You know, kids party and they hang out and they go to houses or whatever. But when it's almost every day, these cars are pulling up and they're walking up, sometimes counting money. It all ended, it crescendoed with one dude, a kid named Brandon. He comes walking up, and there's like 5 carloads of kids in the street waiting to get served up by me. And he comes walking up. My neighbor was digging around in his freaking flower beds. His name was, what was his name? Frank, I think. Clemens was the last name. He was a total freaking douchebag. The weird thing is the wife was a real douchebag too, but my wife said she was the lunch mother at her school, middle school, and said she was super nice and everybody loved her. I'm like, her name was Doris. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, she was a total bitch. I could hear her ragging on them kids all day long. And the father too. And he was they're always yelling at these kids, screaming and yelling. Anyways, kid comes walking up to my house named Brandon. He comes walking up. He's like, oh man, I only got $18, man. Can I pay you the other 7 on Friday? Like, he's counting the money. I'm standing on the porch. I had these big shrubs, so I was kind of hidden from my neighbor. He's like, man, I only got 18 because the bag $25 for an eighth. That's what I do. Usually 30, but some people I do them 25. Can I pay you the other 7 on Friday? I get so mad, like I take 2 steps off my porch and bam, I hit him right in the mouth. Bam! I said, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? I said, my fucking neighbors, I got neighbors, mother effer. You think they're stupid, you dumb idiot, Oh, hell, I didn't know. How can you not know? You're walking up to a drug dealer's house talking about, hey, man, can I pay you the rest on Friday? God, I should beat your freaking head in. So that's when again the guy gets interesting. So I knew I had to do something. So I came up with a plan. I'm a planner. I hung around, although I was a couple years older than some of these kids, there were some 14, 15-year-old, 16-year-old kids, whatever, that were in the neighborhood that were cool. They were more like thug life. They were more like what they called wiggers, you know what I'm saying? Like that, kind of wannabe gangsters and wannabe tough guys. They hung tight together. There's a 6, 7, 8, 10 of them always together. They jump out of the car and beat you up if it was 5-on-1. Those kind of guys. They would never, or hit you with a bottle or something. They were never fighting nobody 1-on-1. So they're like pretend tough guys. They jump in this car. The one had a hoopty. The one, he lived on my street. The kid, I always liked that kid, to be perfectly honest. Dietz, I always liked him, but he, after I beat up Eli for like 5 times, he just turned on me and like hated me and still does, I'm sure. But I always liked the kid, this tall, skinny kid. He kind of reminded me of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. But because he let everybody go to party at his house. His parents were really cool, so we'd go down in the basement, smoke weed, drink, party, have parties, and he was cool. Like the parents were cool with it, so I like, and he's funny. He was funny. So I came up with this idea. I said, I'm not going to tell the names of these guys. I'm just not going to do it because, somebody will reach out to them and say, Al's using your name on a video, blah, 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 blah. It's not appropriate, man. These people have they have families, they have kids, careers. And I don't know really what some of them are doing, but there was about 5 or 6 of them. And they were all scared of me. They were really, really scared of me. Like they 2 of them lived on my block. One of them was pretty close with this Puerto Rican kid. I picked him up in school every day. We went and played basketball. We went and worked out every day. He was a good kid. He turned into a mental patient. But anyways, I like them. These guys, some of them I kind of with, some of them I really like. And the one, I'll say Eli's name because I talked about him before. He lived down the block. And he was I was kind of on the fence about him, but I did like him. He was funny, little fat Mexican kid. He wasn't like super fat, but chubby. He had game. He got girls. He was funny. He was slick as hell. He ended up being really slick. I'll tell you what happened with him. And anyways, I ended up rounding these guys up, telling them to meet me. I can't remember if it was at Dietz's house or I think it might have been at some girl's house in Tangletown, which is this subdivision. I basically put word out. I sent word through emissaries, through their boys. I said, listen, tell them Monday to meet me at this girl's house after school. And he's like, I said, tell them no questions. They got to be there. Tell them I want to talk to them. This is serious business. So I know for a fact they were all like, what the frick, man? What does Al want? Because I was a lunatic. I was known for fighting and knocking mother effers out, brawling, even robbing mother effers. They were a real side quick story. Is funny. I can't forget. But this is a funny story. Before I really knew most of them dudes, or even Eli, they were driving down 13 Mile in this hoopty, right? In this piece of junk hoopty, and they're all posseed in there. And they ran out of gas. And I was driving by, I think I was in my Mustang, and I was pulling by, and I kind of was like got behind because I was looking for some weed. My plug was dry, like I couldn't get any weed for the minute. I mean, sometimes it happens where you just can't even find. Your supplier runs out, and it might take a day, it might take a week. So I got no weed. Like I'm jonesing for some weed, man. And I'm driving around, going from house to house. You know what I'm saying? You guys got any weed? Got a joint? Got some? And I see these freaking kids, and they're pushing this car. So I whip up. Now this is like a 1.5 lane road. So it's like 1.5 lanes and 1.5 lanes. And I pull up next to them, some halfway blocking the traffic, incoming traffic. But it's not a lot of traffic. It was only like a half a mile from the lake, from Jefferson. It was right by our high school. And I pull up, I get out of the car, and I'm like, what's happening, bro? And they're like, I ran out of gas. I'm like, you gonna push this thing to the gas station, bro? You got freaking 1.5 miles to put. He's just laughing. He's like, will you push it with your bumper? I'm like, hell no, I ain't messing up my car, freaking no. And I said, man, listen, anybody got any weed? I need some weed. And they were like, all of a sudden Eli's like, I might have something. I'm like, well, what you got, man? He pulls out a bag about 1/4 ounce, right? And he shows it to me. He goes, let me see that. And I take it and I go, oh, this is perfect, bro. Listen, I'll get you back in a couple of days. Hit me up. And I put it in my pocket and I took off. Now in my mind, I was thinking like he had more, and then he'd just come over to my house in a couple of days when I got some, and I'd give him like a 1/2 ounce. So I'd like double it for him, right? But his eyes got real big. I said, oh, this is perfect, bro. This is a good weed too, man. My man. I shook his hand. I said, good job. I said, hit me up in a couple of days. I'll hook you up, bro. And I took their weed. I'd later find out from him, several months later, a year later, it could have been years later. He's like, dude, that was all our weed. Like we had all pitched in together. We all pitched in together. Like, so we'd have weed for the weekend. It was like a Friday night. And I was like, we're going to hang out, smoke this 1/4 ounce of weed and drive around and be high. He's like, and you pull up and just took it. Didn't even give us a joint. And you just take off. I'm like, dude, I just assumed that you probably were selling some weed, and that the way you pulled it out said, I got this. I thought you were saying that's like a bag, but I'm not paying for the bag. I'll just give you a 1/2 ounce bag. I literally would have been like, you come to my house in 2 days. I'm like, here's a 1/2 ounce, bro. I'll double it up for you. Thank you for looking out. But he never came. They were scared of me. They were just too scared of me. He didn't really know me that well. I think he said one time he seen me get in a fight and like knock some dude out. And he's like, I wasn't going to say nothing to you, bro. So I called this meeting with him and these other guys. And I say, you know what? Yeah, I brought like a pound of weed with me. Not 1,000% sure Eli was there, but anyways, he was part of this. But I think he was. And I brought a duffel bag with a pound of weed in it. And I walked in and I said, listen, fellas, this is how this is going to go. I need your help. I said, I got too much traffic in my house. Take this off now. I said, so I'm going to front each of you a quarter pound of weed or whatever it was. I think so. I must have brought more than a pound. I probably bought a pound and a half. I said, well, I should have went back to, well, I'll tell the story about how I got more weed. And by this time I hadn't been in with my uncle. So I'll get into that in a second. So I said, I'm going to give you each a quarter pound. I'm going to front it to you for, what did I tell him? I think I told him 700, 800 bucks. I think it was like 800. Man, dude, I think it was $900, man. If I'm being honest, it was $900. Like, I was raping these little kids, man. They were 14, 15 years old. But I looked at it like this. If they sell all the weeds all the bags in bags at $30 an eighth, they'll still make $100 or whatever it was. Plus, they'll get the pinch and smoke all the weed they want, get the munchies and whatever. So they all got that free weed. They can pretend they're drug dealers for Al Lindbloom. You know, they can drive around, but, I'm working for Al. I said, I'm going to get you guys all beepers. I had a plug on beepers called, what was that place called? Telecom. In Marshall's Mall, same place as the gold exchange. Guy's name was Andre. I could get beepers, dude, for like a year paid up, like $50 or something. So I went and got them all beepers. I don't even think it was that much. And I give them a stack of cards. I didn't give them the beepers yet, but I would over the next few days. So I'd give them each a quarter pound and say, $900. I want this money every Friday on time. We'll meet here. I'll give you more. If you sell it, you make a couple bucks. You know what I'm saying? You get to smoke some free weed. What do you got to lose? And they're all kind of looking at each other like, first of all, knowing like I'm completely shaking them down. And second, they're like, I'm raping them on the price. And also third, I'm not giving them a choice. I'm saying, you're going to take this. I don't give a shit what you say. You're going to sell this. I don't give a shit what you say. You're going to pay me next Friday. And if you're short, we're going to have a problem. Most of them never came short. Eli was the only one who ever came short. Then over the next couple of days, I went and got the beepers for the guys, and each one had a number. And I give them, when you buy a beeper from there, they give you a stack of these like kind of generic cards that just has room for a number and a code, I said, you pass out these freaking cards to your customers, right? And then you write the code down on a matrix. So when somebody calls you with the code, you know who it is and what they want, because they're going to put 30, 60, 90, whatever it is, the bag they want. So the code is Mike. Mike wants an eighth. Okay, boom. You can even get it to where you meet them. Like, you could put 13 in H, which is 13 to Harper, so you meet them at Wendy's or whatever. So I taught them how to use all that. And they were like, I'm sure they weren't really happy about it because the price was so high, and the price should have been more like $600 or $700, maybe $750. But because I was only paying $1,000 a pound, so $250 a quarter pound. I would charge them $900. Is that insane? I really feel guilty about that. I was being so greedy, and I was so like predatory with it, man. Just like, here's the freaking weed, you're gonna sell it, mother effers. I just didn't care. That's how I thought. That's really how I thought. I mean, I was a predator. I thought predatory, you know what I'm saying? These guys like to drive around the neighborhood thinking they're tough, they're gangsters, they're thugs. And then I walk in, and then that all changes. So you know how it goes. Story. Everybody's a gangster till a real one walks in. That's kind of how it was with them. That's a funny story. When I was beating up Eli, every time I saw him for a couple of years, I won't get into that story now, but I get into, he basically got with my girl when I was broken up, when I was in jail. I can't remember. And I remember one time so that was his crew, right? They're older now. Now they're like 19 years old or whatever. 18, 19 years old. I'm like 19, 20. And we're at this 4th of July party, right? And they all come walking in. They're deep. There's like 10 of them, right? And Eli's there. And I said, fuck you looking at, mother effer? I already beat him up like 5 times. So he's terrified. I slapped him around. I wouldn't beat him up bad because I actually kind of liked him. I did like him deep down, and I didn't really blame him as much as I might led him to believe, because I blame the girl, you know what I'm saying? But, still, you're still a slime ball for what you did. And so I'd slap him around, beat him up a little bit in front of people at a club or a bar or a party. And he's terrified. This mother effer is here, just terrified. And I said, what you looking at, motherfucker? Come over there, beats his freaking head. And so the owner of the party, Rob Aguilera, shout out to Rob Aguilera. You could watch this. His wife watches these. Good dude. he comes over and he says, and there's a couple older guys that are there, and they're like, "Come on, Al, man, calm down, man. Just chill out, man. We don't want to tear up the party, man. We're just having to have fun. 4th of July party." I said, "You better tell that mother effer not to look at me. If he looks at me, I'm gonna stomp his head in." So they turn around and walk over there. These like bigger, older dudes, and they're like, "Hey, man, don't look at him. Don't even look in his direction. I mean, we don't want freaking this party to end. Don't even look at him." So now he's like this, right? And he's drinking his beer, and I'm watching him. I'm drinking a beer. And I just keep staring at him. And all of a sudden, he's looking at me. He's like out of the corner of the eye, he keeps glancing at me. I said, "What the fuck are you looking at, motherfucker?" And I kind of like go mobbing towards him. And everybody got between me. "Come on, Al." And then they turned around to Eli. I said, "Dude, you got to leave. You got to leave. Al's freaking a live wire. We're going to end up blowing this whole party, man. You're going to ruin it all. Just you got to go, you guys. Just get the fuck out of here." So they all go walking out in a single file line. And as they're walking out, I was over. There's like a gate to go to almost like an alley, except it was a street because it was the back of the house, and the gate was there. And they're all walking out, and I'm as they're walking by, I'm going, "Real tough guys." I said, 10 of you mother effers driving a car and jump on any mother effer who gives you some lip, but I'm one guy, and I just punked your whole freaking crew, you pussies. I said, and some girl, her name was Kelly Gerard, a disgusting, nasty chick that I hated. She's about this little, I'll tell you what I said to her. She goes, "Al, that's why nobody likes you. You're a freaking prick," or something like that. I said, "Yeah, you're a prick." I said, "Listen, you little ugly freckle-faced pig-nosed troll. I don't give an F what you think of me. I don't give." And she started crying, which made me feel a little bad. But she was a disgusting bitch. I mean, and a trollop, total trollop. All them dudes ran through that chick. She was just a sex toy for everybody. My boy Mario ended up marrying her. It's crazy. But I mean, that's all old stuff. I don't care. God bless them all. I'm just telling you how I thought them and what I thought of them then and whatever. I can care less. I hope they're all happy and have families and they're successful, whatever. But back at that time, it is what it is. She called me out some names. I called her out some names. But then the guys were walking down the street, right, to go back to their car, and I'm walking after them. And I'm laughing. And everybody kind of piles out to watch because they don't see if there's going to be a fight. And I'm poking, and I'm like, "This mother effers, you think you're tough, man? I'm one mother effer just punked your whole crew, you punk ass mother effer. You guys jump in your car and drive around staring down everybody. You're going to get out of the car and jump 5 deep. I'm one guy." I said, "If you had any balls, there's 10 of you." I said, if there's 10 of you mother effers, if you had any nuts, you turn around and jump on me. I can't beat 10 mother effers. Come on now. They just looked down and kept walking. Didn't say a word. I'm like, "It's what I thought, you punk pussy mother effer." But we'll go back to when they were selling for me. That's after I got busted. So I'll get into that story in a minute, how I got busted. After I got busted, it was game over. And so I got these guys selling weed for me, and now I'm clocking, dude. I'm making like $4 or $5 grand a week with this crew. And I expanded the crew too. Started off as like 4 of them guys, but then I had another guy over here, and then I had a guy in Roseville before, but I treated them other guys better. I was just abusing these freaking little punks because they thought they were tough, and they needed to be abused, you know what I'm saying? Because I could. But my Roseville guy was a good dude. His name was Tony, and I treated him right. Might have gave him a quarter pound on the front for like $400, so I only made $150. Clocking money. I remember I had so much money, man. It was between the mattress on my bed. I remember like lifting up my mattress, and it was just laid out freaking like stacks, like $1,000 stacks. I had like 20 G's. I just couldn't believe how much money I had. It was a lot of freaking money for a kid my age. And my dad knew I sold drugs. You know what I told my dad? He says, "You better not bring drugs in this house." I said, "No, I don't sell drugs, Dad. I invest in drug dealers." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'd give them money. They use it to sell drugs and make me a profit and give me money back. I'm an investor. You know what I'm saying? A loan shark." He's like, "Well, as long as you don't bring it in the house." I'm like, "No, I didn't." Meanwhile, I got freaking 20 pounds under my bed or whatever. I won't even get into the time I stuck a bunch of weed under his bed because I thought my house was going to get raided. So I said, better him to get caught with it than me. And I stuck it under his bed. It's a freaking punk ass kid I was. Then one day I'm at my grandparents' house because I went to my grandparents every Sunday for dinner, sometimes Saturday too. I went there all the time, but usually religiously I went there on Sunday for our dinner, and we ate dinner at noon. So this is what they did. I know we called it dinner, but it was noon. It was a meal at noon, so it was more like lunch. But my grandma would make a big feast, and we'd sit down with the family, we'd pray, and we'd all eat, right? and gossip and whatever. And then after, we'd go sit in the family room and watch a movie or watch football. My grandpa loved sports. He watched football, like baseball. My Uncle Pete Toka lived there, right? And at one point, my uncle's wearing this badass biker jacket, this black biker jacket, right, which was badass. It didn't have like all the like little silver studly things and stuff. It was just a badass black biker jacket, kind of like what this jacket now, something like this is exactly what it was. And he's wearing one, and I thought it was dope. And I just said that. I said, Uncle Pete, that coat is dope. A couple days later, week later, I come back to my grandparents' house, and he's got me one. It's brown though. It's brown. I'm like, man, I put it on. I go, thanks, man. This is dope, man. He goes, what's wrong? You don't like it? I said, I like the black one, like yours. He said, give it back. I don't know where he got it. He takes it back, and the next week he gives me a black one. I was like, hell yeah. It's the same size, so it was a little bit big on me, but he knew I was growing. I was a teenager. I was like 16 years old. So, we had the same exact biker jackets, right? This is where it gets bad. So I go to my grandparents for dinner, and I had I always brought like an ounce of weed with me in case somebody called for a bag. Somebody's always calling for a bag. I bought my beeper. I had like $800 in cash in the inside pocket and an ounce of weed. I hung it on this chair in the kitchen, right? I hear my Uncle Pete say, Alonzo, you want to go to the market? Which is the Eastern Market in Detroit. And, it's Mob Central. I mean, he hung around a bunch of freaking young wise guys, a bunch of young mobsters. And he grew up with them. That was his whole life. He was in that circle. He says, you want to go to the market? And I looked up to him and his friends. They all had money, and they all were hustlers, and but drugs were a no-no in my world, though. That's the problem. I knew I was like in the game and kind of like them hustling in the street, but drugs were a no-no. And the reason why drugs were a no-no, because my Uncle Pete had been busted selling cocaine, and it was a big deal. I don't remember how much it was. He didn't go to jail, so he must have, got lawyers and got out of it. My grandpa might have bribed the judge. He bribed the judge to get me out of trouble. But they would razz him constantly about the drugs. Like how they had told him not to sell drugs, not get involved in drugs, stay away from drugs, and he got busted for drugs. And they would go off, and they'd usually speak in Sicilian, right? But I knew the word cocaine in Sicilian, and I'd hear them yelling, and drugs. I knew I could understand some of it, and it was basically every day they'd razzle him. Got to the point where he actually moved out. Later, he's like, I can't take this no more. They're just on me for this freaking. So drugs, bad. Crime, organized crime, that's fine. If it's gambling or if it's racketeering, but drugs, bad. So I knew this. So I never brought up my drug racket with my uncle. I don't even remember telling him how I got money. I don't even think he knew I had money. I was kind of hiding it from him. And then one day he says, I got to go to the market. I said, no, I'm good. I'm going to stick around and watch football with Grandpa. And he says, all right, we'll be back in a couple hours. So he goes to grab his coat, but he grabs my coat. And then he comes back, 2 hours later, right? And he walks, I hear him walk in the side door, and it's kind of like aggressive. Boom. He goes, Alonzo, basement. And I'm like, oh, that don't sound good. That don't sound good. And I was in the living room watching TV, and I just heard Alonzo, basement. And I'm like, all right. So I get up to walk, and I looked at where my coat had been on the chair in the kitchen table, and it was gone. So I kind of had an idea what was happening here. So I walked down to the basement, and he's holding this bag of weed. He goes, what the F is this? I go, well, what does it look like? It's a bag of freaking weed. He's like, what are you doing with it? I said, I'm selling it. I'm making some money. I'm just trying to make a buck, bro. He goes, smells it, and he goes, this is bullshit weed. And he throws it to me, and it goes flying all over the place. I'm like, what the frick, man? He goes, this is bullshit weed, man. Why would you sell bullshit weed? I'm like, it's not bullshit weed. It's just regular weed. It sells. People want it. He goes, come here. So he says, follow me. So he walks me upstairs. We go outside. There's an attached garage at the house. And in the back, there's a lot of junk and boxes and all kinds of crap. So there was like 10, 15 banana boxes filled with like books and paperwork and all kinds of old like business stuff from my grandpa's business. But then there was like a couple of banana boxes that had lids on them. And he walks up and he opens it up and he goes, take some of those. And I'm like, what? There was like 10 pounds in a box. And he had like 3 or 4 boxes. He says, take some of them. If you're going to sell weed, because he said, how much you paying for a pound? I'm like, 1,000? He's like, sell mine. 1,000 a pound, better weed. You have more customers. It'll sell better. It's better. Take some. I'm like, well, how much? He's like, take it all. Take 10 pounds. I don't care. So I'm like, I couldn't believe it. He's like, take 10 pounds. Like, that was a freaking lot of weed to me, because I was only at the time buying like a pound or two at a time. So taking 10 pounds is a hell of an advance. So I take this 10 pounds and I take it home and I start slinging it for my uncle. And from this point on, I stopped buying weed from my other guy. I still buy some from him because I didn't really want to lose him as a connect. Because he called me, he's like, what's wrong, man? You ain't buying weed. I'm like, oh, yeah, business is slow. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure he figured it out that I got a better price. He's like, yeah, you need a better price. Yeah, if you give me a better price, but the weed my uncle had was better, and I can finagle him on the price, and I can not pay him as much. Like I got him like, here's $900. I'll get you the rest later and whatever. And he's like, whatever, just give me the money. Him and his crew I imagine him and his crew were buying hundreds of pounds. I never asked. It wasn't my business. So about this time, this is where it gets even more interesting, is, we were out there in the street fighting all the time. We were, what? I might just save this for another video. I'm going to save it for another video. So make sure to check out Art Thing Apparel. Check out my books, To Be a King, Volume 1 and 2. I'm going to tell you about the steroid racket in a minute. Another video.
Former prisoner and inmate.
You did it. What are you doing, Guns?
You bit the hell out of me.
Wanna see you with your hands up. Going straight to the sky, let me see you put your hands up. Cause we do till we die and we on another level.
I'm at New York City.
To the rest of your body, we get some whistle. Got a piece of the pie. Told you once, told you twice that we only got one life.
On the way to achieve success